Hello, everyone. Welcome to the July 9th episode of Stacking the Box. We are officially in the dog days of summer, but there is still plenty of football to talk about. Iain MacMillan here, Sterling Holmes. We've been off for a couple of weeks. I've been off for a couple of weeks. I'm on this week, and then I'll be off again for another month. So let's make the most of it, Sterling, while I'm here before I head out east to Nova Scotia for a month. What's going on?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess you hate me. I don't know. I should probably read between the lines here. But apparently Iain no longer enjoys doing the show with me, and this is more of a pity show, is what I'm gathering.
Yeah, it's been a busy year for you, boy. So the good news is throughout the entire football season, because last football season I had some time off. This football season, I'm from the time I get back at the beginning of August until post Super Bowl, I'll be there every day, every week. But this summer has been a vacation heavy summer for you, boy. We got to get back to ranking some position groups. We were doing that there a month or so ago. We got through quarterbacks, running backs. We were ranking. We also ranked fan bases who deserve a Super Bowl, which is kind of a fun one. You can go back and watch and listen to that. Today, we're going to rank wide receiver rooms. So we're just going to go team by team, because if we were ranking all wide receivers, and if we did two for each team, that'd be 64 wide receivers. That would take us about 2 hours. So we're not going to do that. We're just going to go by wide receiver rooms. But there are a few things that we're going to touch on before we get into that. Not a lot of NFL news the past couple of weeks, unless I kind of missed something that was big. I saw Tristan Wirfs is hurt for the first couple of games for the Bucs, which that shame for Bucs. Sucks. Falcons have to play in week 1. Damn. But other than that, no real news, unless I'm missing something, Sterling.
Well, the NFL is just rigging the NFL for the Falcons.
yeah, like they would do that. Speaking of which, the top 100 players in the league has slowly started to be released. Jesse Bates is like 92. What are we doing here? You're telling me Jesse Bates is not the 92nd best player in the NFL? The Falcons get disrespected on that top 100 players list every single season.
Wasn't like Creed Humphrey came in like 88 and like Andrew Van Ginkel or something like that was ahead of him, and we're like, what are we doing here?
Ranking lists are just built to piss people off, which is exactly what we're probably going to do today when we rank wide receiver rooms. Drake London, by the way, speaking of wide receivers, was 98th ranked player. He was like top 5 in receiving yards last year or something.
Hey, I'm just saying we're unbiased, so we won't piss anyone off.
That's true. We are completely unbiased, and we are objectively correct. All of our opinions are 100% factual.
Agreed.
I was hoping that you had been watching this Netflix series, The Quarterbacks thing, because I haven't. I don't really watch a ton of these behind-the-scenes things, but there have been some clips, because usually this is why I don't watch them, because all the good parts end up just coming out on clips in social media. Two main things that have come out. Number one, Joe Burrow, who, why don't you start? Your thoughts on they're still bringing up that AFC Championship game from 4 years ago, 5 years ago?
Yeah, 5 years ago. I just find it absurd, I guess. I'm perplexed by the no team has lived more off of one victory. They didn't even win the Super Bowl that year. It'd be like if Falcons fans were like, we lost 28-3, but remember that NFC Championship game? How good was that? Forget the Super Bowl.
They crushed the Packers.
But that
was a good game.
That'd be my point, though, is if you just only brought up the Packers game and then be like, well, what happened after? You won the Super Bowl, right? And you're like, well, no, we didn't. But what about that NFC Championship game, huh? Like, that's what that – and then you just keep talking about how, yeah, well, the Packers are scared to play you. The Packers are scared as they keep going – the Packers keep going to the playoffs and winning. To an extent, they kind of are. And the Falcons keep missing the playoffs. That's exactly what it would be like. I don't get why the Bengals keep doing this.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't quite like being like the Falcons are chanting 28-3, because I mean the Bengals didn't lose in the biggest blow up like choke job in professional sports championship history.
No, but my point just keeps remaining. I guess I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't understand the almost rubbing it in the face of teams that win Super Bowls because you made a Super Bowl one time.
Yeah.
I just, and lost. Like, I just find it very, very confusing. I'll probably eventually watch the entire quarterback. I watched the first one. I watch it when I'm sick. Knock on wood, I haven't really been sick, so I haven't had time to just sit and just watch these shows. I think it's interesting. First one was interesting. I bet Joe Burrow, he seems like an interesting cat.
Let me hold on. Let me defend.
More.
Can I defend the Bengals' whole AFC Championship thing for a second? Because I also want to talk about Joe Burrow.
Sure.
I see where I think Bengals fans are coming from. Now, they definitely should not be bragging to Chiefs fans that they won that game. But I think there is something to be said that on this hot streak of the Chiefs winning the AFC Championship every single year, outside of, the Patriots beating them the first year that they made it, the Bengals are the only team that have been able to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs on the AFC side in the past 6 years. So there is something to be said that, the Bills can't do it. The Ravens haven't been able to do it, but we Bengals have at least done it.
One time 5 years ago.
Well, 4 years ago, but yeah.
It's going to be 5. I mean, this year, I don't know. Again, I don't care.
But there's something to be said that they were able to do the one thing that no other AFC team has been able to do.
Yeah, I get that. 5 years ago. I just find it weird, man. I'm just trying to think again. It would be, again, kind of like if because they haven't made the playoffs. Like, make the playoffs again first. Like, I don't know. Again, it is what it is. You can fan however you want to fan, but I just personally find it weird. Like, I wouldn't celebrate that, especially to a team that keeps winning Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to think in baseball terms. I'm a Royals fan. Like, I hate the Yankees. The Royals lost to the Yankees in the World Series, or not the World, in the ALDS last year. I don't know. I can't even think of a good comparison right now. Like, I can't think of one.
I'll say two things about Joe Burrow that I've seen clips of. Number one, I do like Joe Burrow, how that game against the Titans, they won by 10 points. But he had that blow up on the sideline at the end of the game because they were sloppy. I think they had 8 offsides throughout the game. Zach Taylor was trying to calm him down, saying, like, listen, we won. Like, let's be happy. And Joe Burrow was like, no, why would I be happy? That was an embarrassingly bad performance. I like that from a quarterback. Love that from a quarterback.
I do too. Again, that's what you want. That's what makes the great elite and the elite, like, one of the top 5 guy in the NFL.
Yep.
Like, that's what you, and again, I like that from Joe Burrow. I respect the hell out of that. I don't mind. Well, Holmes does that, and Josh Allen, I assume, does that. Tom Brady did that.
Yep.
Like, a lot of times
Peyton Manning did that.
Like, the elite of the elite typically operate in that field. It's you strive for perfection. You don't strive for great. You strive for perfection. You're not going to get there, but if you strive for perfection, odds are more times than not you'll end up in great.
Yeah. I did see a Reddit comment that Zach Taylor sounds exactly like Tim Heidecker, which now I've listened to Zach Taylor, and it's true, and it's now just going to make me laugh every time that I hear Zach Taylor talk. Which is
I don't know that feller.
You don't know Tim Heidecker, Tim and Eric? Free real estate?
No. This is a Canadian thing?
No, it's not a Canadian thing, man. Maybe you're too young. Maybe
31.
I thought you were a couple years younger than me. You're only 1 year younger than me. How do you not know who Tim and Eric is?
I've heard the show. I don't know.
Okay. Well, Zach Taylor sounds like Tim Heidecker. The other thing I want to say about Joe Burrow, I always just kind of thought he was like a strong silent type off the field, but he's actually kind of weird. The whole fossil thing, like he's fascinated with fossils, and he was just talking about that all through practice, like fossils that he saw at the museum. Bit of a strange duck. No?
I mean, didn't he buy his entire offensive line a samurai sword?
Yeah.
Like, people are like, yeah, let me buy you something you're going to use. And he's like, nah, I'm going to buy you a samurai sword. What do you do with a samurai sword? Hang it on your wall? What are you going to use it for? Cut a nice Wagyu steak? I don't know.
Yeah, he bought the Batmobile. Producer Sean says, yeah, true. He also bought the Bat. Yeah, he's got a little bit of kid living inside an adult body off the field, which is charming, but not what I thought Joe Burrow was like, but a little bit of an eye opener there. The other thing, obviously the news coming out with Kirk Cousins, because this has been interesting for him to kind of watch him go through this because of the season he had. Said he felt misled when the Falcons drafted Penix. This is not news. I thought this was kind of evident the moment the Falcons drafted Michael Penix last year. What I thought was kind of interesting is that when he got hurt, he would have taken himself out of the lineup, but he figured if he took himself out of the lineup because he was hurt and admitted that he was hurt and too hurt to play, then he never would have got a starting job back. Obviously, that resulted in the Falcons going on a losing streak in the second half of the season because he couldn't throw the ball because his shoulder was hurt. And then it ultimately led to them missing the playoffs and him losing his job regardless. Falcons fans, I'll let you know on Falcons Twitter, they're pissed. They hate Kirk Cousins now.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Now. I would too. I really liked Kirk Cousins, but this whole thing, no dog in the fight at all. Well, you misled the Falcons by thinking you were good. You signed a $150 million contract, right? Or whatever it was. Insane contract.
He was having a good year, though, until he got hurt.
To me, it's almost like grow up. Like, it's the NFL. You're mad because they started a rookie. That's what the money's for.
Yeah.
You want some respect? That's what the money's for, Kirk.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, that really irritated me. You're getting paid a bleep ton of money. And you're like, well, I was misled because they drafted this guy. You also played bad football, Kirk. Injured or not. I don't know, man. I was taken aback when he said that.
Yeah, and that ultimately led to the Falcons missing the playoffs. So, yeah, Falcons fans are pissed. They felt he should have taken himself out when he did get hurt. I actually don't necessarily agree with the Kirk Cousins hate for that. If it worked in his favor, if he still was able to play despite being hurt, people would look at this being like, man, he's a true competitor. Got hurt, fought through it, still managed to win games. It's because he's sucked, which is now the problem. But that's kind of hindsight, unfortunately. I'm sure all the top quarterbacks fought through injuries because they were scared that if a young guy came in. But this is the downside of when you do draft a rookie quarterback, is now the starter is going to feel him breathing down his neck, which could negatively affect the team.
It helped. Alex Smith led to his best career year ever.
Sure. But I bet you if Alex Smith got an injury that normally would have taken him out, he would have tried to fight through it, and then he would have put up some bad numbers.
I mean, Kirk Cousins has been injured in his career. We've known this about him. He was coming off an Achilles injury, right? Was it Achilles or ACL?
Achilles, yeah.
I mean, that was a risk that they took.
Yeah.
Great comment from
I'll never shop at Kohl's again. Yeah, it's over. Kirk Cousins still on the Falcons roster. People forget he's the most expensive backup quarterback in NFL history right now. I figured he would not be on the roster by this point in the season, but it's at this point. I think most likely what's going to happen is the Falcons are going to wait, and if a team loses their starting quarterback in training camp or preseason, then they'll probably trade for him then. But if no starters get hurt, he might just be on the Falcons all season. Before we get into the wide receiver rankings here, I got to bring up a couple things about the Chiefs. Couple issues with two of their star players, which I have to bring to light. Is Patrick Mahomes fat? First of all, because I hear a radio host.
No. Don't say a radio host.
It wasn't a radio host. It's a guy. It was a guy on Kansas City radio. Was it not?
He doesn't.
I saw a headline that said a Kansas City radio host.
You could say former Kansas City radio
because
host.
When I saw Kansas City radio, I said, "Uh-oh."
He does podcast.
Was Sterling Holmes calling Patrick Mahomes fat on Kansas City radio?
Former
is in like he just got fired because of this, or former because like he actually used to?
Years ago for another situation.
Oh.
I don't want to get into it because there's a little bit it's a light connection.
Okay, fair.
But yeah, not great, Bob. I mean, seriously, what is he doing? This is not the first time he's gone down this route. He's getting ripped. He doubled down, and we're seeing what is transpired with social media and Patrick's trainer, Bobby Strope, going after him as well. I mean, it is pretty well documented that, yeah, Patrick doesn't have a six-pack, but he's one of the more, I don't want to say physically in shape, but he's one of the hardest workers as far as what he does to prepare his body. He does, similar to Tom Brady, a little more unique things. It was why Patrick Mahomes was able to play through a high ankle sprain that was supposed to be out 6 weeks, and he just kept playing through it in the playoffs because of some of these things, these preemptive injury prevention methods that he does. It's very well documented here in Kansas City that Patrick is a very hard worker. Yeah, he likes his Coors Lights, and he's probably not eating salads every single meal, but he is known for being, one, a very hard worker, and two, his training regimen is unique and different and focuses more on preventing soft tissue injuries than it does trying to get a six-pack. And I think that's where, and by the way, look at all sports. How often does the dude who is yoked out of his mind get injured versus the guy who's a little bit pudgy?
Well, I was just going to say that. You don't even want your quarterback to have a six-pack. Like, what a stupid comment. Like, yeah, Tom Brady and Peyton Manning famously have great bodies. Like, what are we talking about? Like,
fat,
quarterbacks
baby.
don't have good bodies. You don't want one. Same with
You
pitchers in
can't pull
baseball.
fat, Iain.
What'd you say?
You can't pull fat.
Correct. The other news that came out about a Kansas City Chief, Travis Kelce, said, quote, and he was talking about his experience on Saturday Night Live. The writer's rooms were fun because you're getting pitched ideas. The table reading, for a guy that can't really read that well, it was kind of an effed situation. I felt like I was trying to get through the reading instead of actually acting it out and giving it a voice and giving it a character and things like that. Travis Kelce can't read. Thoughts?
Don't need him to.
That's tough.
I mean, his career is almost over. He's made a career without having to, so good for him. You know what? Maybe he goes back, learns how, goes back
Probably
to
not.
Cincinnati.
That's tough. So you got a fat quarterback and you got a tight end that can't read.
And all they've
who also
done
picks
is
fights against teammates in training camp.
And all they've done is win two of the last
Who
three
also
Super
screams
Bowls
at
and
his
go to
head
all
coach when
three.
they lose.
In fact, have they or have they not gone to 3 straight Super Bowls and won 2 of them?
Yep, they
Pretty
have.
good for a apparently supposed out of shape quarterback and a tight end who can't read. Not bad.
That is tough.
Imagine
I mean,
if he
maybe
could.
he's dyslexic. I don't want to,
Yeah, you
trash
son of a-
trash him too much because if it comes out he's like dyslexic, then I'm gonna feel bad. But that's tough. It always shocks me when like there's athletes that come out like Floyd Mayweather, like reportedly can't read. Like how?
because he can read defenses.
I could read in second, like I could read in first grade. Like what? I don't understand.
I like to read, but I'm also not a professional athlete. So some of us have different strengths.
Sure, fair enough.
I can read Harry Potter, but where's that gotten me?
Right here, baby.
Exactly.
Really quick, because I'm not going to be on the show for a month, so I want to talk about a team who I'm going to be selling their stock. We talked about Washington Commanders, so I think we're both a little bit low on this season, Sterling. Another team who I have I've locked in my biggest offseason bet. It is the LA Rams to miss the playoffs. I'm selling my LA Rams stock this year, and I want to get your thoughts on it. But looking back at their numbers last year, not as good as you would think for a team that made the playoffs and won a playoff game, beat the Minnesota Vikings in the wild card round. I think we're going to see some significant regression from Matt Stafford, who last year his numbers weren't even that good. 15th in adjusted EPA, 11th in success rate, 25th in completion percentage over expected compared to other starting quarterbacks. Their offense last year ranked 15th in EPA per play. Their defense ranked 23rd in opponent EPA per play. My favorite stat, it's still July, I'm still going to say it, net yards per play, 19th in the NFL, average scoring margin, 17th in the NFL. And did they do anything to significantly improve their roster? They signed an 88-year-old Devontae Adams. And now Matt Stafford's going to be older another year. Devontae Adams is going to be older another year. You got to think the 49ers are going to bounce back this season. I have sold all of my stock in the Los Angeles Rams. Do you agree? Is that advice you would take, or am I wrong? Last year, I pointed out the Jets as the biggest frauds in the NFL. This year, the Rams, I'm calling my shot right now. The Rams are the biggest frauds in the NFL.
I wouldn't make that bet because I think it's about 50-50 chance they make the playoffs still. I know it's like 50% yes, 50 no. I get like it's a
then that'd be a great bet. A plus 140 they don't then if you think it's a 50-50 chance.
Yeah,
because right now their odds say they have a 63.24% chance of making the playoffs.
I don't think. Yeah, I'd probably lean realistically 55%. My opinion, like I haven't kind of gone through it all July 9th, but I'd say 55% of the time, if you ran a simulation, I think they make it 45% of the time they don't. They've been a team, though, that has been a little surprising where I feel like you keep waiting for them to be done, and they keep finding ways to be better than you would expect. Yeah. I think the defensive line, especially with some of the young talent they have, is pretty solid. Matt Stafford keeps finding ways to get it done, and I don't want to count against him. And I do think for as old as he is and some of those middling numbers overall, as far as the numbers you gave, they're very middling, right? They're not bad. They're kind of middle of the pack. When it comes to one-score games, when it comes to close games, I still trust Sean McVay and Matt Stafford, right? And I think that's where you see some of the difference in like the EPA numbers versus the actual results. This is why I kind of push back, and I'm not trying to take a shot here, on Joe Burrow last year with the Bengals. Some of the numbers were great, but if you watch the games, 4th and 1, he's throwing a deep streak to Jermaine Burton. Why? Like, that congrats, you threw for 420 yards in that game, but on that specific play, what was needed was 1 yard, not to try and get 50, right? Matt Stafford's not making that play. Matt Stafford's going to find a way to get that 1 yard. And so I think there's some of that to the Rams. I wouldn't be on your side on this one. I don't think you're far off base as far as the bet itself, but I think that would be too risky of a proposition for me, putting a lot on that, because I do think that it's still a slightly above 50% chance, or right at it, that they make the playoffs, and I just, that's not one that I would take. I don't have that strong conviction that you do here.
All right, I do have a written piece breaking it down a little bit if anyone wants to read my opinion on that a little bit further. I think it's going to come out on si.com/betting on Friday, I think, if anyone wants to check that out. But let's go ahead and jump into our wide receiver tier ranking list here. We're going to go team by team instead of wide receiver by wide receiver. And the categories are elite, great, good, average, below average, and Sterling's favorite word, buns. How do you like those categories?
I love those categories.
All right. Some of these teams, I'm going to need a refresher even to like what their wide receiver room is. We're going to base this. Are we basing it off the entire wide receiver room, or are we basing it off the top 2, top 3?
No, entire
wide receiver room.
Yeah, I mean, I think depth matters. Don't you? I mean, I do.
Yep.
I think depth matters.
All right, so let's get into it. We are going to just go in the order that they are on the screen, which I don't even know, like the Saints are first. That's not alphabetical. So let's go ahead and start with the Saints. The Saints, as a little refresher for the people, Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed. I'm just going off ESPN's depth chart right now.
Yeah.
Brandon Cooks, Bub Means, Kevin Austin Jr., Cedric Wilson.
Yeah, Chris Olave is very, very good. Rashid Shaheed is underrated. Brandon Cooks is old.
This is below average at best, though.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think based on where wide receiver rooms are at currently in the NFL, you have a back-end wide receiver 1 in Chris Olave. You have, I think, a wide receiver 2-ish in Rashid Shaheed. You have a maybe cusp wide receiver 3 in Brandon Cooks at this point in his career. And then I just think from then on, it's not great.
Even if you break it like Chris Olave, below average wide receiver 1. Rashid Shaheed, below average wide receiver 2. Brandon Cooks, below average wide receiver 3. So I think as a whole, they're just below average.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
All right. Saints, below average. Next one's an interesting one because this is a team that no one has faith in this season. But if you look at the roster, especially offensively, how do you rank this wide receiver room? Probably is one of the best in the NFL, I would think, and that's the Miami Dolphins. I went to go bring up their depth chart. ESPN does not have their offensive depth chart for some reason, but obviously Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle.
It's Tyreek, Jalen Waddle. They have Nick Westbrook, Akina, obviously from Tennessee.
Washington.
Malik Washington. Theo Weiss Jr. Didn't know that. That's a UDFA out of Missouri. I really liked him in college. Great player. They don't have a ton of depth. It really is the top 2 and then huge drop off, which I'm going to knock because that is a big drop off.
Yeah.
I don't mind Nick Westbrook-Akina. Like I get he's a decent depth piece, but after him, it's wild.
Malik Washington showed some speed in his rookie season. Didn't get a lot of opportunities, but he's an athlete.
I'll go good.
Yeah. And Tyreek Hill's, has he lost a step?
No. But I can't go great because again, that depth is pretty terrifying if an injury happens, I think. I mean, that's my opinion.
Okay. Let's go good. You're right. I was a little bit surprised by their lack of depth there. But we'll see. I could see us making maybe some adjustments once we get all the wide receiver rooms in front of us here. Next up, we got the Baltimore Ravens, the Super Bowl co-favorites, who added a wide receiver to their team. DeAndre Hopkins, a little bit old, but he's on the roster now. Rashad Bateman, Zay Flowers. That's pretty much it.
Tez
Walker, yeah. Tylan Wallace, LaJohntay Wester. Depth is certainly not there for Baltimore.
Tylan Wallace made a play or two last year. That's the guy that's extremely quick. Tez Walker was a first, second. He was drafted. I forget what round it was. 2 years ago, I think now. Out of North Carolina. Hopkins, seeing him firsthand in KC was weird. You saw glimpses, but the consistency was not there at all. I don't know if that was a Chiefs issue. I don't know if that's a him issue. Chiefs don't really use his style, so I don't want to knock him too much because it wasn't going to be a fit necessarily. It's fun, the name. Hopkins to KC, and then you realize stylistically they couldn't be farther apart. Mm-hmm. Zay Flowers is really good, but I almost want to say average. I
was even going to go below average because Lamar Jackson racks up the yards through the air, but he relies on his tight ends a lot. Like a lot of that is Mark Andrews and his Isaiah Likely.
I'm going average because they have three deep: Flowers, Bateman, Hopkins. Tylan Wallace can be a good deep ball guy, and you're hoping Walker takes that second year leap. I'll say average.
Okay, I'll go average. Next up, we have the Cincinnati Bengals, which you will not be able to be unbiased about, but I think you have to go elite.
Oh, why would right? I'm unbiased. They're definitely elite. It's
right. Okay.
Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Andre Yosevich. I think Yosevich is a phenomenal wide receiver 3.
And Chase and Higgins might be the best 1-2 punch, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I think so. And then Jermaine Burton, you're hoping. We know the talent. He struggled a lot last year, but I still think the talent is there. I'll go elite.
Yeah,
I know we've talked about depth, but they might not have the best depth. But when you go that deep through 1 through 3.
Yeah, I mean, if they don't have an elite wide receiver room, I don't know if there's a team on here that does, except for maybe there's one other that we're going to get here in a couple teams that might compete. But,
yeah.
The Denver Broncos.
Well, they have depth, but
they have
not
depth.
Great depth.
Yeah, correct. They're kind of the opposite. They have Cortland Sutton, who's their number 1, Marvin Mims Jr., Devon Vele, who showed some flashes, I believe last year's rookie season.
Yeah,
Troy Franklin, Pat Bryant, Trent Sherfield. They have a ton of guys that teams would love to have as like their number 3, number 4, number 5s. Cortland Sutton's not a great number 1. He'd be a fantastic number 2.
I'd go below average.
I'd go below average.
I think you need to have a guy. Yeah, you're right. He's a great wide receiver too, but they have a lot of wide receiver 3s.
Yep. They do have a ton of wide receiver. Even like their wide receiver 6 could be a wide receiver 3.
Yeah.
But to really compete in the NFL compared to some of these other wide receiver rooms, they need this number 1. And I don't think Sutton's the number 1. The New York Football Giants. Malik Neighbors, obviously last year one of the best rookies in the NFL. Wan'Dale Robinson, actually, you know what? A little bit of an underrated wide receiver room. Wan'Dale Robinson and Darius Slayton, especially Robinson was one of the leaders in catches last year, wasn't he?
Yeah, but the yards after catch were atrocious. He was just a valve. I had him in fantasy football because it'd be like 8 receptions, 9 receptions for 30 yards a game. I mean, It was.
If you want if you're in a PPR, Wan'Dale Robinson's the play. Yeah, 13th in receptions last year, 93, but only 93 receptions, 699 yards. That's crazy.
That's like Austin Eckler running back numbers.
That's crazy. Only 7.5 yards per reception.
Lil Jordan Humphrey, who I believe was actually with the Broncos before this, believe it or not. Jalen Hyatt, who they drafted, I think, last year as well. Also
Jalen Hyatt, who I don't know. I don't think you were with me. I talked to him in the Super Bowl. You might have talked to him in the Super Bowl the year before. Love Jalen Hyatt as a guy.
I'll go average.
But in terms of skill, this probably average. Has to be average.
Malik Neighbors is doing some heavy lifting.
Yes, for sure. Minnesota Vikings. I think they're another elite wide receiver, right? They might be. Are they the only team that can compete with the Bengals in terms of wide receiver talent?
Jefferson. No, we'll get to another team, I think. Jefferson, Addison, Jalen Naylor looked pretty good last year as well. I've always liked Rondale Moore from, was it Oklahoma? I think, who was with Arizona for a little bit.
And last year, remember who he was with last year?
Falcons,
but he got hurt in preseason. We never saw him. We did a 1-for-1 trade, Desmond Ridder for Rondale Moore, and then he got hurt.
Yeah, I'll go elite. Because
it has to be elite.
Yeah.
Jalen Naylor was great last year.
Agreed.
And then if Rondale Moore stays healthy, that's a great number 4. That's an explosive number 4. LA Rams, who obviously moved on from Cooper Kupp this year, but brought in Devontae Adams, which is, I think, one of those moves that's, you bring in an aging wide receiver, people go crazy. You see the graphic, who's stopping this wide receiver room, and then like he kind of sucks because he's old. But he's still, Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Tutu Atwell, Jordan Whittington, Konata Mumpfield, don't know him, Xavier Smith. Is it great? Is it good? It's at least good.
Yeah, I know, because they're very similar to Miami.
Yeah.
Where it's like the top 2, I mean, Puka Nacua is elite.
And Tutu Atwell's not a bad number 3.
I'll go great.
Okay.
We might need to adjust and put Miami there. I don't know, because they're very similar teams.
Yes. Buccaneers. I mean, it's got to be between great and elite, right?
Yeah, they're
stacked.
Godwin, Evans, Emeka Egbuka in the first round from Ohio State, Jalen McMillan, Sterling Shepard, Tez Johnson, Trey Palmer. Yeah, they're elite because their depth as well.
Their depth is insane. Yeah, that's crazy. It's been a while since. I mean, I don't know necessarily why they took a wide receiver with the first pick, but now they're going to be hard for anyone to defend. Yep. Hopefully Godwin comes back healthy this year. Detroit Lions.
Great. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think, is I've said he's one of my favorite wide receivers in the NFL. I think he's top 5. Jameson Williams really came into his own. Tim Patrick is fine. Khalif Raymond, okay. They drafted Dominic Lovett out of Mizzou/Georgia State, or not Georgia State, Georgia. I'll go great.
Yeah, I think great. Great makes sense. Chicago Bears, who was supposed to be one of the best wide receiver rooms for a rookie quarterback to be in. Did Sterling did we just lose Sterling? I'll just talk Bears. Oh, he's back.
What happened? Was that me?
I don't know. Yeah, you disappeared for a second. Chicago Bears, which was supposed to be one of the best wide receiver rooms a rookie quarterback had ever been in. Blame the offensive line, blame whoever you want, but it didn't exactly turn out well for Caleb Williams. But they have DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Luther Burden, rookie Olamide Zacchaeus. Solid. Good. Is DJ Moore wide receiver 1?
He can be.
Yeah.
He's shown it before. I'm in between good and great.
Oh, I'm not. They have the potential to be great, but we have to see it before we can say great.
Good. You're right.
Let's go good. And we have to see Luther Burden too. And Roman, like it's kind of, if there was a young category, it'd be almost this group almost.
Yeah, good.
We haven't seen enough to put them at great. San Francisco 49ers. Who even is in the San Francisco 49ers? Because wide receiver room. Because obviously they lost Deebo Samuel. So they got Brandon Ayuk is coming back. I'm guessing hopefully healthy this year. Juwan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, who a lot of people are high on this year. And then it kind of falls off. Demarcus Robinson's decent, I guess, for number 4. Jacob Cohen, Jordan Watkins. There's so many question marks surrounding Ayuk and Jennings this year that I don't really know how to rank this wide receiver room.
I would go below average to average.
Really? I don't think you can go below average. They're better than the Saints.
I'll go average, I guess. Ayuk is, man, he was bad last year, dog. Bad.
He got hurt last year, didn't he?
Yeah. When is he not?
Yeah.
I'll go average, but I think they're going off name recognition now.
Okay, I'm putting average. We've seen the highs from Jennings. We've seen the highs from Ayuk. A lot of people think this is going to be a big year for Ricky Pearsall. I'm gonna go. I can't put them in the same categories of Broncos and Saints.
All right.
Eagles. I guess were Eagles the elite team you were referring to earlier, or were you thinking Buccaneers?
I was thinking Eagles, but the depth is fine. Terrace Marshall Jr. getting a shot there from Carolina. Johnny Wilson, obviously they drafted. Jahan Dotson, wide receiver 3 from Washington, but it is AJ and Devontae.
It's certainly one of the best 1-2 punches in AJ and Devontae, but their depth is a little questionable. But the Bengals' depth is a little questionable too.
I'll go great. I like their. I don't know, man. It is kind of Miami-ish. I'll go great.
I can't convince you on elite.
No.
Okay. Definitely great. Raiders. If there was a young category, it'd probably be the Raiders, because didn't they spend like 2 high picks on wide receivers this season?
Correct, which makes this very hard to judge.
Dante Thornton Jr. and Jack Beck.
Besh.
Jacoby Myers. Is it Beck or Besh? Besh? It's Beck, isn't it?
Oh, I forget. That was Besh.
Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker is obviously nothing to write home about. They're going to lean on Brock Bowers quite a bit. In terms of wide
as
receiver,
of now, this is buns.
I think I was just going to say, I think we have to put buns. Now, maybe Jack Beck and Dante Thornton completely changed this wide receiver room, but right now they're buns.
And I like Jacoby Myers as like a wide receiver too, not as the
maybe even a wide receiver 3, maybe.
Yeah.
And Trey Tucker is nothing. So yeah, if there's any room that we put buns, it kind of has to be them. Packers is an interesting one. Might be the most deep wide receiver room in the NFL, but they just are still seeking that number 1 guy, which is why they spent their draft pick on Matthew Golden. Because Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs, Dontavion Wicks, maybe Wicks is more of a number 3 guy, but especially Reed and Dobbs would be like great number 2 guys, but they're not a number 1 guy.
This is a good group to me. I think it feels like the definition of good.
Yeah. Yep. But if Matthew Golden comes out and he has a fantastic rookie year and he's like a bona fide number 1 guy, then this is a great borderline elite wide receiver room. But you need a number 1 guy. Okay, perfect. Commanders.
Terry McLaurin, Debo, Noah Brown, Luke McCaffrey, Jalen Lane, Michael Gallup, KJ Osborne, solid too.
I didn't know Osborne was there now.
Yeah. Again, a couple wide receiver 3-ish guys with Michael Gallup, who's older, KJ Osborne. Then you also have like Luke McCaffrey. It's kind of a, I guess, youngerish, but not super young wide receiver 3 option.
It kind of comes down to, for me this year, how good Debo is going to be. Mini camp, obviously, photos and videos don't tell the whole story, but he didn't look in shape. I'll tell you that much.
He has been a guy who I think has been coasting off of
previous success.
Yeah. He's very Bengals-like.
Yeah, fair enough. So what do we do? Are they good? Is Scary Terry enough to lead that group to put them in the good category? I kind of actually want to go average, to be honest.
I'll go good. I like some of their depth pieces.
Okay, good. I won't argue too much with you on that one. Arizona Cardinals, who obviously Marvin Harrison Jr., who kind of a disappointing rookie. Like, he was supposed to be like the next big thing.
Yeah.
He ended up having a decent rookie season. This is a below average group. I need to see more from Marvin Harrison this year. Michael Wilson's should be a number 3 guy. He's a number 2 guy. Greg Dortch should be a number 4 guy. He's a number 3 guy. And their depth is atrocious too.
I would consider going buns.
Can he go buns with Marvin Harrison Jr.? What were Marvin Harrison? What was it?
Chris Olave.
62 catches, 885 yards, 8 touchdowns last year.
Would you say he did?
Marvin Harrison Jr. had 62 receptions, 885 yards, 8 touchdowns.
Jacoby Myers had over 1,000 last year.
Yeah, true. I'll go buns.
I think so, man.
They relied on Trey McBride a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. I want Marvin Harrison Jr. to be good. So yeah, I mean they treated him like a wide receiver 1 this past year, and he didn't reach 1,000 yards. So not good. You're right. Steelers, who have DK Metcalf, and then I think basically no one.
Yeah, Calvin Austin, Robert Woods, Roman Wilson, Scotty Miller,
Ben Skowronek. I invested in some Ben Skowronek when he came in the NFL. I think I had him on my dynasty team for a couple years.
Yeah, it's not great.
No, it's bad. That is bad. And DK Metcalf has historically played with a really good number 2 receiver and a really good number 3 receiver a couple years too. It'll be interesting to see how he performs in a year where teams are going to be able to double him every play.
Yeah.
Because you don't got to be worried about Calvin Austin. You don't got to be worried about Robert Woods. Buffalo Bills.
Interesting. They also are a team that's like a lot of wide receiver 3-ish type of guys. Wide receiver 2, maybe. Like Khalil Shakur, good wide receiver 2, but he's your guy. Keon Coleman, young, a little bit unknown. Joshua Palmer was a fine wide receiver 3 for the Chargers for a while. Elijah Moore has still been based off of potential, but has done nothing. Curtis Samuel, I like in that change of pace role, but
they have a ton of wide receiver 2s and 3s.
I don't even know if 2s is strong.
Shakir is a 2.
Hamilton go below average. Feels a little Broncos-ish to me, where it's like they got some nice depth, but
yep, I agree with that. My beloved Atlanta Falcons, Drake London, Darnell Mooney, who I believe they were Darnell Mooney was a couple yards short of being one of the only wide receiver duos to both reach 1,000 yards last year. Ray McLeod, it's a pretty solid wide receiver 3. Kaderil Hodge, game winner for us against the Buccaneers in overtime. Pretty good wide receiver 4. And then, we got some no names behind them. But
I'm not going above average. I think average is...
Stop, Sterling. Stop. What are you talking about, man?
Are you serious?
Yeah.
They're average, dog.
No, stop, man. That's a crazy thing to say. It's one of the best wide receiver rooms in the NFL, and you're saying they're no better than the Giants wide receiver room. What are you talking about?
Well, Malik Neighbors
based on
wide receiver 1 on that team.
Okay, Drake London, 4th most receiving yards this past year in the NFL.
Dude, I'm not doing this with you.
So Darnell Mooney finished with 992. So the 2 receivers were 3rd and 25th in receiving yards last year with Kirk Cousins as their quarterback.
Are they not the Giants, basically? London, no. Neighbors. Wan'Dale Robinson, Darnell
Mooney's way better than Wan'Dale Robinson.
Jalen
you
Hyatt,
even said yourself was a receptions merchant. Darnell Mooney averaged 15.5 yards per catch. And they don't have a Kaderil Hodge. They certainly don't have a Kaderil Hodge.
They seem about average to me.
You're telling me, okay, so the Commanders have a better wide receiver room than the Falcons?
I would take theirs, yeah.
That's crazy. What are you talking about? Scary Terry he was 15th in receiving yards last year.
Okay.
Drake London was a top 5 wide receiver in 2024. I'm sick of this Drake London disrespect, and I don't know where it comes from. What more did the guy? 100 catches, 1,271 yards, 9 touchdowns with Kirk Cousins throwing him the ball? What else does he have to do?
I didn't say Didn't say he was bad. He's good.
But he's elite.
And even
top
if he
5 is elite.
Darnell Mooney had a really good year last year, but you're not telling me he's an elite wide receiver too.
I didn't say Darnell Mooney was elite, but he's a top 25 wide receiver. And he missed a game too.
The point I'm trying to make is they seem average to me. They seem like they have a really good wide receiver 1, a solid wide receiver 2. They have a fine wide receiver 3.
So Bears have a better receiving core than the Falcons.
DJ Moore, Roma Dunze. I mean, I love Luther Burden. So that
he hasn't played a snap in the NFL, so you can't even evaluate that. You have to at least give me good, and that's crazy.
I will not go great, so I'll go good, but I don't love it.
Producer Sean, I need your opinion, because am I taking crazy pills right now?
I think you're taking crazy pills.
I'm not saying they're an elite receiving core, but I'd put them at great. He says, no, I'm not, and Washington needs to be down a notch. Yeah, well, he's also an Eagles fan, so.
Fact. Seahawks have Cooper Kupp, JSN, MVS, Jake Bobo.
Shout out Jake Bobo.
Man, they got rid of a lot of guys.
Yeah.
They tried going younger, but also got older. They're like, hey, let's get younger. Let's get rid of DK Metcalf. Let's get rid of Tyler Lockett, and let's bring
I'm sick of Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Can we stop putting Marquez Valdez-Scantling like top 3 receiver on any team? Stop.
Oh, dude. Chiefs guy. Yeah. Come on now. JSN's doing a lot of heavy lifting here. Cooper Kupp.
If he can stay healthy, he's still very good.
Are they average? Are they below average? This is difficult for me, man. They're in that range.
Yeah.
You decide.
I'm going to go average. I mean, JSN is extremely good. And Cooper Kupp, we have to treat him like he's healthy.
I'll treat him like he plays 13 games, which makes him average.
Okay. Let's go average. Also, shout out Jake Bobo. My weekly touchdown bet to Jake Bobo. Patriots, buns. Right? Might be the worst wide receiver room in the NFL, which is why I'm surprised so many sharp bettors are big on the Patriots this year.
It depends.
Stephon Diggs, who's a problem, not in the good way. He's a problem. He hasn't been good for a couple years now. Demario Douglas and Mac Hollins. That's buns, dude.
Yeah, I mean, it depends how much you like Stephon Diggs and how much you plan on him bouncing back. Pop Douglas has shown flashes. Mac Hollins is a really good wide receiver 3-4-ish. He does the dirty work. I liked him a lot on the Bills. He fit a good role there. Kayshon Bouttie's just you don't know. Kendrick Bourne has been a wide receiver 4 for his entire career. Jalen Polk as well. Yeah. They're buns to below average. You can place them where you want.
Yeah, I'm going buns. They're terrible. I think they're the worst wide receiver room in the NFL.
Yeah, I think there's one of those situations where there's some guys, if you told me they ended up having a really good year on that team, I would believe it, but I think that's a lot of things have to go their way. They're very a wide array of outcomes, in my opinion, for the Patriots this year.
Yeah, we're running out of time, so let's rip through some of these here. Browns, buns or below average? Jerry Jeudy, Cedric Tillman, Deontay Johnson are the top 3.
Oh, buns. Deontay Johnson is going to get him in trouble again. He'll be off the team. Yeah.
Texans. Ooh. Texans are interesting.
I want to say great. Let me see some of their depth.
Texans, we got Nico Collins, Christian Kirk. I like that ad I like Christian Kirk. Tank Dell, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel, John Mechie.
Great.
Justin Watson, Xavier Hutchinson. They have some depth. Braxton Berrios. They have some decent depth there.
Great.
Yeah, I'd go great. I'll let you choose the Chiefs.
So Chiefs is interesting. On paper, they look really good. Rashee Rice, healthy. He was insane last year. He was the second player in all of football his rookie year in yards after catch. I mean, he's a very talented wide receiver. Xavier Worthy, we saw what he did last year once he got integrated in the offense. Second half of the year, phenomenal. One of the better deep ball threats, at least on paper in the NFL. Hollywood Brown, complete unknown. He keeps getting injured. We've seen him go for over 1,000 yards in his career. We've seen him not play a game. I do like some of the depth that the Chiefs do have. They drafted a guy fairly early, Jalen Royals, 4th-round wide receiver. They have Juju Smith-Schuster as their dirty work guy, their blocking wide receiver. Wide receiver 6 is special teams. They're in between the... I think they're better than the Falcons.
Oh, that's insane, dude. What are we talking about? Dude, that's crazy. Not even close, man.
I bet Rashee Rice ends up over 1,100, 1,200 yards this year.
Who do you think has more receiving yards this year, Rashee Rice or Drake London?
I don't know with the suspension. If he gets suspended. It's looking more or less like not this year.
Let's say he doesn't get suspended this year.
I think it's close. I'd probably go Drake London by a nose because I think there's more depth in KC.
For a second there, I thought we were going to have our first bet of the year.
No, because I think that Travis Kelce, obviously, but Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown. I mean, Hollywood Brown's their wide receiver 3, a guy who's gone over 1,000 yards in his career. That's crazy. Is that not fairly impressive? Their wide receiver 5 is Juju Smith-Schuster, who's gone over 1,000 yards in his NFL career before in a season. Like the Chiefs' depth is pretty crazy this year.
Why are you saying that about those players who Darnell Mooney hasn't, or Hollywood Brown hasn't gone over 1,000 yards since 2021? But Darnell Mooney with 998 yards are just tossing to the side as a bum.
I didn't say he's a bum. I never
But
said
you're
that.
bragging about Hollywood Brown being their number 2, and he hasn't had 1,000 yards in 4 years.
I said wide receiver 3. Xavier Worthy's wide receiver 2.
Okay, and what Xavier Worthy do last year?
Check out the second half of the season.
638 yards.
Check out the second half
So you're
of the
saying
season.
Xavier Worthy's a better number 2 receiver with 638 yards than Darnell Mooney, who was 1 catch away from $1,000.
Yeah.
What are we talking? Okay, whatever.
Ball.
I mean, if we're going to disagree this hard, we're going to have to just put them both in good, but I think putting the Chiefs in good is crazy. I think the Chiefs are average.
That's wild. No. What?
Okay, good then.
Okay.
That's crazy. Cowboys.
CeeDee Lamb's great.
George Pickens can run a mean streak.
Mingo, Turpin, Tolbert.
I think we kind of have to put them at great right now, but I'm not high on them. Shout out Paris Campbell's in Dallas now.
Yeah, I'll say great.
I was a
great.
big Paris Campbell guy. Chargers, they're going to be what, below average?
I love Cooper Kupp.
You mean
not Cooper
Ladd
Kupp,
McConkey?
Ladd McConkey.
Yeah, but also,
Same.
yes, Cooper Kupp.
They're the same. Quentin Johnson, Michael, below average. It's basically, they did draft Trey Harris, who I like that draft pick from Ole Miss. I think that makes sense, but unknown. I'll go below average, but I love Ladd McConkey.
Yeah. Below average, working their way up.
Yeah.
Jets, Jets. I can't see their depth chart on ESPN. Do you have the Jets depth chart around?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Oh, I got
Malachi Corley, Xavier Gibson, Alan Lazard,
not good.
Garrett Wilson, obviously.
Who did not even have a good year last year. Josh
Below
Reynolds.
average. Below average.
Might be Buttons, dude.
No, Garrett Wilson is doing some heavy lifting there.
Okay. Below average? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I would put Buttons. I want the record to show. Panthers. Kind of underrated, actually. But still probably no better than...
They're so unknown, dude. It's Tet McMillan, unknown. Xavier Legette, unknown. Adam Thielen, old. Jalen Cocker, Hunter Renfrow, unknown there. Old. Man, that's not good.
Below average? Or would you put Buns?
I'd probably go Buns right now.
Okay, let's go Buns.
But they're a team kind of like the Patriots, or like a young receiving core that could move their way up. The Arizona Cardinals and Raiders. If you told me the Raiders ended up in average this year, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yep. Titans, Calvin Ridley, Tyler Lockett, they have added to their team this year. Treylon Burks, Van Jefferson.
Not good, Bob.
Buns.
Yeah, that's Buns.
That's Buns. Colts. Colts have Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, Adonai Mitchell. That's kind of their top 4. Below average. Average.
Pretty good. I think average. I like that.
Average.
They're the most, I think, underrated wide receiver room in football.
Also hard to tell when you have a quarterback that completes like 40% of passes.
Yeah, it's also a very fair point.
Jacksonville Jaguars. Obviously, one of the best rookie players last year, and Brian Thomas. You have Travis Hunter, who's going to be there. Diami Brown, Parker Washington. They did lose Christian Kirk.
Parker Washington was pretty solid when at times. I'll go average for now. They're a team with a lot of variance. They could end up in great. They could end up in below average.
And Brian Thomas is doing a lot of that heavy lifting.
Agreed.
Yeah, let's go average. Anything you want to switch?
Yeah, I think the Chiefs should. No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to do that to you. I think the Falcons should move down 1, but that's about it.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
What?
I think if anyone moves down, well, yeah. No, I think it's pretty good. I think we kind of nailed. I think I'd put Malik Neighbors though. It's so hard when it's a trash wide receiver room, but then you have one extremely good wide receiver.
Yeah.
I think we did a decent job. 5 minutes ago, I put out a poll for how would you rank the Falcons wide receiver room. I put it out on Twitter. There have been 43 votes so far. 53.5% of people say good. 32.6% of people don't know ball. And then people who know, 14% of people know ball. No one has yet to vote the Falcons being elite.
Yeah. 34% have said average.
That's crazy. Those people, they're either trolling me or they just simply don't know ball. All right, that's the show. We kind of ran out of time there at the end, but thank you so much for watching and listening. Subscribe to Stack in the Box on YouTube. I'll be gone the next 3 weeks, so you won't see my face until August. So Sterling, run the ship the next few weeks. And
I'll try not to crash it.
Try not to crash the ship. Keep it afloat. Keep it above water. And I'll be back in August. And then next time you guys see my face, it's basically the start of football season.
Let's go.
Because you got preseason, you got the Hall of Fame game, you got training camps, and before you know it, it'll be Eagles-Cowboys opening night in early September. Can't wait. It's sneaking up on us pretty quick. All right. Thank you all so much for watching, listening. I'll see you in a month. Sterling, we'll see you next week. Bye.